Have you ever stayed up all night before an exam, eyes heavy, coffee cup empty, and your mind racing faster than you can control, only to wake up the next morning realizing you can't even remember half of what you studied? It's a story far too many students know by heart. The endless scribbling of notes, the desperate flipping of flashcards, the belief that pushing yourself harder and longer is the only way to succeed. But here's the truth. You're not alone. Millions of students fall into the exact same trap every single day, falling victim to bad study habits that silently destroy not just their focus, not just their grades, but something even more valuable, their mental health. And the danger is these habits don't scream at you from the start. They creep in slowly, disguised as discipline, disguised as dedication, disguised as the price you must pay to succeed. But underneath, they're draining your energy, feeding your anxiety, and leaving you exhausted, empty, and on the edge of burnout. Today, I'm not just going to talk about studying smarter, because you've already heard that advice 100 times. Instead, I'm going to tell you the hidden truth about these habits, how they sneak into your routine, how they burn you out from the inside, and more importantly, how you can finally break free. Because your mind is not meant to be a battlefield. It's meant to be the foundation for every success you will ever achieve. And the moment you choose to protect it, everything changes. Let me tell you a story. There was a student, let's call her Anna. She was bright, ambitious, and full of potential, but she carried a belief that many students share. The harder she pushed, the more she sacrificed sleep, skipped meals, and distanced herself from her friends, the better her performance would be. Every night she stayed up until her eyes could barely stay open, drowning in notes and textbooks, convincing herself that this sacrifice was the price of success. But slowly something began to change. Her grades, instead of rising, started to fall. The information she had studied so desperately seemed to vanish the moment she needed it. In class, she couldn't concentrate. During exams, her hands shook with stress, and even the simplest questions felt impossible. Anxiety began to follow her like a shadow she couldn't escape. At first, Anna blamed herself. She thought maybe she wasn't disciplined enough. Maybe she wasn't smart enough. Maybe she just didn't have what it took. But then, one quiet night, sitting in front of her desk with yet another unfinished chapter staring back at her, it finally hit her. It wasn't her intelligence that was failing. It was her habits. The very routines she thought would carry her to success were the ones slowly destroying her mental balance. She had built her study life on a foundation of exhaustion and pressure, and that foundation was crumbling beneath her feet. Anna's story is not unique. It's the story of countless students who confuse struggle with progress, who believe burnout is a badge of honor, and who don't realize until it's almost too late that their bad study habits are stealing both their academic performance and their peace of mind. When we look closer at Anna's story, we begin to see something that almost every student has experienced at one point or another. The little routines, the everyday choices that seem harmless, even productive, but slowly add up to something destructive. These are the bad study habits that don't just make learning harder, they chip away at confidence, motivation, and mental health. Let's dive into them, one by one, and uncover why they are so dangerous. First, let's talk about cramming all night. It feels like the ultimate show of dedication. You stay up until 2, 3, even 4 in the morning, eyes red, heart pounding with caffeine, convincing yourself that you're being productive. You whisper, just one more chapter, just one more review, just one more practice question. But science tells a different story. When you deprive yourself of sleep, your brain loses its ability to transfer short-term memories into long-term storage. That means everything you thought you memorized at 3 a.m. slips through your mind like sand through your fingers. And the cruelest part? You show up to the exam exhausted, stressed, and unprepared. Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you relied on a habit that sabotaged you from the start. Anna learned this the hard way. She thought pushing through the night made her strong, when in reality it made her weaker. The second habit is multitasking with distractions. How many times have you sat down to study with the best of intentions, only to have your phone light up? A notification, a message, a quick peek at TikTok or Instagram, just for 5 minutes. But 5 minutes becomes 15, And before you know it, your focus is shattered. The human brain is not designed to multitask complex tasks. Every time you switch between your notes and your screen, your brain spends energy readjusting, refocusing, and trying to pick up the pieces. That wasted energy drains your mental capacity and leaves you feeling tired without actually making progress. For Anna, this was a daily cycle. She told herself she could study with music and scrolling. But each time she checked her phone, her concentration splintered, her stress grew, and her work doubled. What seemed like harmless multitasking was in fact a thief of time, energy, and peace of mind. The third bad habit is skipping breaks. Students often wear it like a badge of honor. I studied 5 hours straight without stopping. It sounds impressive, but it's actually a recipe for burnout. The human brain works best in cycles of focus and rest. Psychologists call it the ultradian rhythm. Our minds can focus deeply for about 60-90 minutes before needing a reset. Without that reset, concentration drops, comprehension falls, and frustration builds. Anna once spent entire weekends chained to her desk, believing that breaks were a luxury she couldn't afford. Yet the more hours she forced herself to sit, the less she absorbed. She ended those days drained, anxious, and angry at herself. The truth is, breaks aren't laziness. Breaks are strategy. Just like muscles in the gym need recovery to grow stronger, your brain needs pauses to refuel. Without them, you're not building stamina, you're breaking yourself down. The fourth bad habit is studying just to pass, not to understand. This one is subtle but deadly. Many students, like Anna, fall into the trap of memorizing facts without grasping concepts. It feels efficient. Cram the key terms, repeat the formulas, rehearse the definitions. But when the exam asks you to apply knowledge, the memorized words collapse. Worse, when your self-worth is tied to grades, every mistake feels like a personal failure. This constant pressure leads to stress, self-doubt, and mental exhaustion. Anna would memorize for hours, yet when a question came slightly differently, panic set in. She thought she was stupid. She wasn't. She was simply trapped in a bad habit of surface learning. When deep understanding was what truly mattered. Let's pause here and reflect. These 4 habits, cramming all night, multitasking, skipping breaks, and studying only for grades sound familiar, don't they? Because they are everywhere. They're normalized. They're even glorified in student culture. People joke about surviving on coffee and no sleep as if it's a sign of strength. But behind the jokes lies a darker reality. Students silently battling stress, anxiety, depression, and burnout. Anna is just one face in a crowd of millions, and maybe you see yourself in her. Maybe you've pulled the all-nighter, scrolled through distractions, skipped meals and breaks, tied your self-worth to a number on a page, and maybe you felt the exhaustion, the dread, the anxiety that follows. This is what makes bad study habits so dangerous. They don't just hurt grades, they hurt hearts, they hurt minds, and they erode the joy of learning. But here's the powerful truth. Habits can be changed. They are not destiny. Every bad habit Anna built was learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. The moment she recognized her habits were harming her, she took the first step toward reclaiming her mental health. And so can you. Think about it. What if, instead of cramming until dawn, you chose steady, consistent study sessions? What if, instead of splitting your focus across 10 tabs, you turned off your notifications and gave yourself 1 hour of pure, deep concentration? What if, instead of punishing yourself with marathon sessions, you honored your mind with breaks, short walks, deep breaths, moments of rest? And what if, instead of studying only to survive the test, you studied to grow, to understand, to truly connect with the material? The difference is life-changing. Not just for your grades, but for your peace of mind. And that's the lesson Anna discovered. She began to rebuild her routine, one habit at a time. She slept, she focused, she took breaks, she sought understanding over memorization. And slowly her anxiety lessened, her grades improved, and most importantly, she began to enjoy learning again. These are the bad study habits that impact students' mental health, the hidden traps that drain potential and joy. But remember, awareness is the first step toward change. If unknown could shift her path, so can you, and the life you gain back, the balance, the confidence, the peace of mind is worth more than any grade could ever measure. When Anna finally stepped back and looked at her own life, she realized something shocking. It wasn't her intelligence holding her back. It wasn't her potential. It wasn't even the difficulty of her subjects. It was the silent weight of her habits. And this is where the reflection begins, not just for Anna, but for all of us. Because let's be honest, how many of us have mistaken exhaustion for productivity? How many of us have confused endless hours at the desk with real learning? We glorify the grind, we glorify the hustle, but in the quiet moments, when the books are closed and the lights are off, we feel the cost. The truth is, grades do matter, but they are not everything. What good is an A if you've lost yourself in the process? What value is there in top marks if your mental health has crumbled, if you're battling anxiety, if you've lost your joy for learning? Think of studying like training for a marathon. If you run without pacing yourself, if you never stop for water, if you push your body past its limits, you don't get stronger, you collapse. And just like the body, the mind has limits too. Respecting those limits isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Anna once believed that success was about sacrifice. She thought missing meals, avoiding friends, and sleeping less made her strong. But strength is not found in how much you suffer. It's found in how wisely you manage your energy. It's found in balance. It's found in knowing when to push and when to pause. And here's the secret. When you protect your mind, and your grades don't fall, they rise. Because a healthy mind learns faster, remembers longer, and performs better. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is the point of education? Is it to chase numbers, or is it to grow into someone capable of creating, solving, and thriving? When we reduce education to a race for marks, we turn learning into a burden. But when we see it as growth, every page, every lesson, every challenge becomes a chance to expand, not to shrink under pressure, but to rise. For Anna, the turning point came when she allowed herself to rest without guilt. The first night she closed her books at midnight and chose sleep, she felt scared that she hadn't done enough, scared that she'd fail. But the next day, her mind was sharper. She remembered more, understood better, and for the first time in months, she felt hope. That one choice sparked a new truth. Her worth was not tied to how much she punished herself. It was tied to how much she cared for herself. And isn't that a lesson we all need? That caring for yourself is not selfish, it's survival. That protecting your peace is not laziness, it's strategy. That valuing your mental health is not optional, it's essential. Because at the end of the day, when the exams are over, when the grades are forgotten, what remains is you, your mind, your heart, your well-being. If you burn those out in pursuit of success, what kind of success will you truly have? So reflect with me. What habits have been stealing your peace of mind? Which routines have left you drained instead of energized? And most importantly, are you ready to let them go? Because freedom begins not when we add more pressure, but when we release the chains of habits that no longer serve us. So here's my challenge to you. Tonight, when you sit down with your books, don't fall into the same trap. Don't convince yourself that staying up until 3 a.m. will save you. Instead, honor your mind. Give it rest. Give it focus. Give it balance. Tomorrow, when you feel the pull to scroll endlessly while you're studying, take a deep breath and remind yourself, every time you protect your focus, you're protecting your future. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start with one habit, just one. Maybe it's closing your phone during study time. Maybe it's taking a 10-minute break every hour. Maybe it's choosing sleep instead of another cup of coffee. Small steps build momentum, and momentum builds transformation. And listen carefully. Your mental health is not a price you pay for success. It is the foundation of your success. Without it, the best grades in the world will feel empty. With it, even the hardest challenges become possible. The students who thrive are not the ones who punish themselves the most. They are the ones who learn how to balance, how to breathe, how to grow without breaking. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, exams behind you, challenges overcome. You're standing taller, not because you sacrificed everything, but because you learned to protect what mattered most, your peace of mind. That is the real victory. That is the success that lasts. So if this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend who needs to hear it, because no student should ever have to believe that burnout is the only path to success. Together, we can rewrite the story. Together, we can build a culture where mental health and achievement walk hand in hand. Remember this, grades fade, but your well-being stays. Guard it, nurture it, and watch how not only your studies, but your entire life begins to rise.